There's students that come to my class that, come from Henderson, and enjoy their company, enjoy them being in class. And I wouldn't want to leave that situation, because I have a lot of respect for them too.
Absolutely. And at times it's just the relationship. I mean, not at times. I mean, it's the relationship that you build over time and the investments that you make, right?
Absolutely.
Emotional investments. That's an investment. And, what I often say, because I did teach Muay Thai in this place called San Diego, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu back in San Diego. And what I've come to find out after teaching, for about a few years over there is that most people, and I don't know if this is universal, but most people come to you because it's you. It's not, yes, there's a quality level in training for sure, but most people just like who you are as a person. You build that relationship over time.
And to support that, we have people come and go, especially this town tends to be a little bit more transient than most, in my opinion. And we have people that, I might have come to my class for a couple of years, or they've been at the gym for a while and they're like, oh, I'm moving to fill in the blank city, where should I go train? And I've gotten that question about, different places, and I might just Google, be like, hey, who's in that area? Who are some reputable people? And I say, do you know what? These gyms should be good, but you should go check them all out. Because you have to figure out what fits, what the vibe is at each of those.
Absolutely.
Because, going through the process of like training every day, and, just fighting your friends, and going through that, and the injuries you get, the frustration, the joy when you do things really well, all that kind of like emotional up and down and ebb and flow that you get. You have to be in the right environment to support that.
Yeah,
it's easy to have that support or feel good about it when it's like everything's on the up and up, and because that's easy.
Yeah.
When you're at your lowest or you feel like you're regressing, with it, with the amount of progress that you're making, you feel like you're going backwards, or getting worse, or, oh, you have an injury, or you're just in that mentally kind of messes you up a little bit, and you have all those things. Are you in the right place to support you? Through that, so it's not just about the progress. It's about, hey, how are you going to get through the tough parts?
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. What's the boundaries on that? Meaning, how does someone going to a gym determine if it's the actual coaches, if it's the environment, because it takes two to tango, right? Is it, a lot of people will blame, say their coaches for their regression, like you said. A lot of people will blame themselves, as they should. Like, they got to keep accountable.
Sure.
But then can you give me an example of that happening? How you determine, is it just a feeling?
Yeah, it's some of it is like, okay, with the gym, though, like any gym or any business or at a house or whatever, it has all those tangible qualities, like, okay, let's say we're talking about a gym. Oh, is it clean? Is there adequate mat space for the amount of people? Is it easy to get to? Is it easy to park there? Did you not get ringworm 15 times in a row?
Oh, geez.
No, just like,
yeah, we went there.
No, I'm just saying. Like,
I know.
If you like to shower before you go to work or whatever, or after training, are there showers there, and are they adequate? Do they suffice what, all those things? You have all those tangible things. Are the classes at the right time? Classes the right length at time? Are there, good enough training partners, or is it just a bunch of brand new people that, I don't know, it's not as fun, or you don't feel like you're being challenged enough?
Yes. Or what kind of programs they have, right?
Sure,
if it's like a structured white belt kind of program, that's a lot too.
Sure, and you need that all the same, So it really kind of like what fits your exact situation, and do you have those tangibles there? And then it's the intangibles that, like, hey, do you like the way that the the instructor or the front desk staff or whoever else or the gym manager, or if it's that kind of operation, or do you like the way that they speak to you? Do you like the way that you see them speak to other people? You know, do you feel welcome there? How do they treat new people when they get there? You know, because going to any gym, you know, like if you're going to a gym or you're dropping in for an open mat at a city that you're visiting, it's like, you know, there's a lot of those like intangibles.
Yes.
You know, and you kind of pick that up right away or be like, you know what, like they're really cool there. You know, I really like that place. Sure. Every time I come to town for work or what have you, I want to stop in there because, do you know what, like they're really nice. You know, and I got some good rounds in, and you know, it was a lot of fun. Or you go in there, you had some tough rounds, but they're trying to take your head off and they're not making eye contact with you. They're giving you bad vibes, and you know, and you're like, you know what, I don't need to spend my happy time going to a place where I'm going to have to kind of, you know, feel defensive.
Yeah, there's so many factors, like you said, and those were a lot of factors. But then, you know, we obviously see things subjectively, right? It could be the smallest things. Oh, it could be even just the first person you meet on how he interacts with you. It's like, oh man, I really like Jill or Jimmy, right? And they're like, oh yeah, I can't wait to like interact with them again. That can really determine everything. And like you said, I think, again, we both come from like the restaurant, you know, food and beverage, I should say, industry. And I think that's a part of it, man. Like even just jiu-jitsu as a business, like customer service, man. If your demeanor and your mannerisms are there, like, and it vibrates throughout the culture, and that's another one, a culture, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes it comes from top bottom.
And you beat me to it because I was going to emphasize culture also.
Hey, go ahead, man. Let's hear it. Yeah, you know, let's go.
And culture's it's just one of those intangibles that you have to build, and it's not something you build in a day, a week, a month. You know, it's a long-term process, and it really starts from the top down, and you really have to have someone who emphasizes leadership.
Yes.
You know, and those leadership qualities build culture. Lack of leadership kind of lets culture kind of go awry. And then you know, basically it can go in any kind of direction. And, you know, the tendency doesn't always turn out well.
What makes a good culture, you think?
That's a great question. You know, good culture, in my opinion, you know, is, like I said, you're putting together, you know, a program, and you have people coming in, and this is kind of like very multifaceted. You have people coming in for all sorts of different reasons. You know, you have someone coming in that, you know, they just want to get in shape, you know, and they want to do stuff that's not running on a treadmill and, you know, picking up and putting down, you know, weighted objects. You have people that want to come in there because, do you know what, you know, eventually they want to compete, or, you know, in some sort of, you know, whether it be jiu-jitsu or MMA or some other kind of, you know, combat, you know, situation. You have people that do it to supplement their job skill and some sort of law enforcement, security, something like that, you know, where they're kind of bound to get in some sort of, you know, altercation. They just want to supplement, you know, just what they can use in a real world situation, and, you know, kind of like everything in between, you know. So what's going to be a welcoming situation for all the above, you know? Because if you're just there and you're like, oh no, we only build world champions, and let's say that the instructor is great, they're, you know, really good at what they do, they're multiple time world champion, you know, they know jiu-jitsu very well, you know, they've extremely talented. And that doesn't necessarily correlate to a good culture for the other parts of it. You know, if maybe they are building world champions, you know, maybe they're just like, yeah, we're training hard every day. This is what practice is. You're going to train a couple times a day, and, you know, and you're going to go to these tournaments and you're going to win, you know, and you're going to be in the right, and you're going to be in the right mindset for yourself, and you're going to have all that. And that's great. But how does that work for the people that are just trying to get in shape,
The
ones that work
hobbyists.
for, you can call them hobbyists, or it's just the
Practitioners.
person. Yeah, practitioners.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's for the people that don't necessarily have like the ambition to compete, for whatever reason, or you have someone who works in some sort of law enforcement, capacity, that just wants to do it because, they want to just be able to handle some person on the job or exude the confidence on their job so they don't have to use, physical force, So, is that going to be the right vibe for them? Is that going to be the right culture for them? Not necessarily, So it's about, that culture aspect. It's like, how do you build that? How do you do it? You have to figure out what you want, in a leadership role, like what kind of culture that you want to build and how you keep reinforcing that.
Yeah. If something was that specific, right? Like when you say we build world champions, I mean, that's their prerogative, right? Like
Sure.
it's almost like, okay, this is only strictly for like people that want to compete, at a high level. But rarely do you know what I mean? I can't think of one gym that markets it that way. I know it's like, not like, oh yeah, here's a sign. We only take competitors. You got to go in there and kind of feel it out. But so one of my examples would be in San Diego. Like I was going to this place called Carlsbad Kickboxing Club, right? And then there's this girl that would drive all the way from like the south of San Diego all the way to the north, which is like an hour drive, which is crazy, 45 minutes just to go to that gym. The reason why she says she goes to that gym is because of the culture, like we were talking about. And then when she went to said other gym, they said, oh, they didn't really pay attention to like the practitioners. They just focused on heavy on the competition, even though they welcomed the, practitioners. So I guess that would be an example of like, you got to go in there, fill it out, because a lot of people won't just say, yeah, competitors only like on their like logo or something, right?
Sure. And, it takes you a minute to figure that out, so like going back to like what I was saying about someone, moving somewhere else or going to visit somewhere, they're like, oh, what gym should I check out? It's what's going to fit your vibe, the best. Check them all out, check out, these are probably the ones given the like what their lineage is or, who they are or, some other factors like these will probably will be good ones, but go check it out. See if it fits for you.
Yeah.
Because you're going to go through a lot of pain, a lot of struggles,
dude.
a lot of trials.
It's
a
a
lot of
long-term
tribulation.
thing, dude.
No, it's a long game.
Yeah, it's a long game. Yeah.
Is that where you want to spend a lot of your free time?
That's true.